Hello everybody, my name is Jake and welcome to MLS Fantasy Analyst. I love MLS Fantasy. I kept losing in my fantasy group, so I started to keep some stats and a spreadsheet to help me win. And I made the MLS Fantasy Champions League last year after getting second in the fourth qualifier. I ended up finishing in the top 100 in the Champions League with the help of my analysis. I'll be doing some one-off videos like this about some fun stats from the 2023 season, and then when the season starts, I'll be putting out videos with my tier lists of the best picks for each week. Now for today's question, is the Goss Theorem correct? For those of you who don't know what the Goss Theorem is, I don't know why you clicked on this video, but welcome. The Goss Theorem is that players do better in the second year in the MLS than they do in the first year. I was also curious how the veterans, the people who have been here for 5+ years, would compare to the new talent in the league. So I compiled some MLS fantasy data to try and figure it out. I only included players who averaged 3 or more points per game and played 5 or more games in 2023. I found out how many seasons each player had been in the league, counting any games played in a season as a season. I then took the average points per game stat and found the average for each position and tenure. I took the average of the averages amongst all the first-year goalies, then did the same for the second-year goalies, etc. So here are the results. Now would be a good time to pause if you wanted to take a longer look at it. As you can see, the Goss theorem doesn't seem to apply to goalies and defenders. The first seasoners seem to do fine. In fact, they seem to do a lot better than the second years. Once we get to midfielders and forwards, however, we see the Goss theorem in full effect. The second-year players seem to do better than the first years on average. Now let's go through and look at some interesting tidbits. The first-year goalies seem to do really well with Sirois and Berkey, but the vets still beat them, which surprised me. They had Clark, Bono, Willis, and McMath, who all averaged over 5 points per game. We also had a great set of first-year defenders as well, with Risa, Mosquera, Vera, and Euronen leading the way with over 5.5 points per game each, while the fourth years had Barrial, Yamar, and Tolkien, who all averaged over 6 points per game. And there's something really odd going on with the fourth years here. What happened 4 years ago that gave us a good influx of players like this? With the midfielders, we have Mukhtar and Reynoso, who upped the average with 6.67, and 7.33 points per game, respectively. And the only fourth-year forwards were Carranza and Mora, who had 5.32 and 4.36 averages, respectively. If you have any idea what happened 4 years ago that gave us such good players, let me know down in the comments. Now, time to wrap up. Goss theorem is correct for mids and forwards, but doesn't seem to apply for defenders and goalies. I only kept stats last year, so I can't compare a player against themselves from a year prior, so I'll keep the same stats for this year to track trends with individual players to see if they get better after the first year, rather than just comparing the first-year players to second-year players. But in general, a player's ability is far more important than how long they've been in the league when it comes to fantasy points. If you watched to the end of the video, thank you so much. I appreciate you choosing to spend your time with me. Watch out for new videos, hit all the buttons down below, and let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and happy MLS offseason.